So you think you guys got a lot in common?
In some aspects, yeah, you do.
How are you guys? They're both.
To manage the weight difference, Terence Crawford isn't leaving anything to chance in his fight against Canelo Alvarez. Instead of training alone, he's enlisted the help of the first man who ever defeated Canelo. Crawford has started his training camp much earlier than usual, focusing on gaining weight and getting comfortable with it ahead of his September showdown. Long before this, Crawford had invited Floyd Mayweather to his training camp, and the two really enjoyed working together. As expected, Mayweather focused heavily on sharpening Crawford's defense. They drilled footwork, worked on the shoulder roll technique, and added more body feints to Crawford. When Mayweather fought Canelo Alvarez, Canelo was just 23, while Floyd was in his mid-30s. Despite the age gap, Mayweather's defense was so sharp that Canelo barely landed any clean shots in all 12 rounds. Over the years, Mayweather has had the honor of training top fighters like Ryan Garcia. His vast knowledge of the sport has helped boxers such as Devin Haney and Gervonta Davis. Now his latest trainee is Terence Crawford, who recently shared his experience of training with Floyd. Some might wonder why a veteran like Terence Crawford, with 40 fights under his belt, is turning to Mayweather for guidance so late in his career. The answer is simple. Crawford's next fight will be his first in the 168-pound division. As part of his preparations, Crawford sought advice from Floyd Mayweather, a 5-division world champion. In a recent interview, Mayweather reflected on his legendary fight against Canelo Alvarez, which took place at a catchweight.
Gave the sport of boxing their whole life and sacrificed a lot inside that square circle. They should feel that way. So if he feels that way, more power to him. I had one fight, and the fight wasn't actually...
I fought Canelo once, and it was at a catchweight, but that wasn't my idea, Mayweather recalled. Anyone can look it up. It's all documented. At one point, Canelo thought I was scared of him, saying I didn't want to fight. So he said he'd meet me at 152 pounds. I called his bluff and took the fight. After Canelo made the weight, there wasn't any rule restricting how much he could rehydrate. He weighed in at 152, but probably came into the ring at 168, or even close to 170. Meanwhile, I stayed around 151. Despite the size difference, I still got the job done.
Sweet, but it wasn't my idea. So at one particular time, you guys can, anybody, you can go online and pull this up. It was an article. So with Canelo said, I believe Canelo at one particular time thought I was scared of him,
Perhaps this situation resonates with Terence Crawford as he prepares to move up in weight. Understanding that there's much to learn in a new division, Crawford sought Mayweather's advice. While fans often compare the two, Crawford himself has nothing but respect for the undefeated legend. When asked about their similarities, Crawford was quick to acknowledge Mayweather's greatness and lasting impact on the sport.
To make the adjustments that he's made to certain fighters,
Crawford elaborated. In some ways, we have a lot in common, but we also have our differences. I take more risks in the ring. Early in his career, Floyd took plenty of risks too. It just depends on which version of him you're talking about. Are you talking about Money, Mayweather, or Pretty Boy Floyd? Because Pretty Boy was a seek and destroy type, a fighter. Then when he started having hand injuries, it affected his power, and as he moved up to face bigger opponents,
I think, I take more chances, right now. But earlier in his career, he was taking a lot of chances as well. So,
as Crawford pointed out, the comparisons between him and Mayweather are inevitable. Fans and analysts often debate who is the superior fighter, and some even speculate about who would win in a hypothetical matchup. When it comes to pure boxing skill, few have ever delivered masterclasses in the sweet science quite like Floyd Mayweather.
Whether you talk about, money, or do you talk about Pretty Boy? Because Pretty Boy was what is seek and destroy.
Mayweather's crisp jab, impeccable timing, and masterful counterpunching allowed him to systematically dismantle his opponents. His career can be divided into two distinct phases: the aggressive, power-punching Pretty Boy Floyd, and the defensive, tactical genius known.
Once again, is a lightning hand speed extraordinary. Left hook drops him, and then he hit his head off the en masse here at the engine.
As Crawford mentioned, Pretty Boy Floyd was more aggressive, bringing the fight to his opponents, while Money Mayweather later relied on his exceptional ring IQ to outmaneuver rivals with precision and defense. Regardless of which version fans prefer, both phases contributed to the legacy of Floyd Mayweather Jr. Similarly, boxing fans are still in awe of what Crawford did to Errol Spence in their last fight, the way he repeatedly snapped his powerful jab through Spence's guard, landed clean shots in close exchanges, and showcased impeccable timing with his counterpunches. While Crawford has always displayed elite skills, no one had seen him dominate an opponent of Spence's caliber in such a manner. When it comes to pure boxing ability, Mayweather arguably stands alone. However, Crawford's style is different: explosive, adaptable, and brutally effective. If Crawford and Mayweather had met in their primes, it would have been a fascinating clash. Crawford's laser-sharp punches against Mayweather's disciplined mastery of the sweet science. Who would land the jab first? Who would control the pace? Who would be the more effective counterpuncher? There are countless ways a fight between them could have played out, making it fair to say that this debate may never have a definitive answer. How many times have we seen Mayweather expertly lure his opponents to the center of the ring, where he'd process everything like a computer, reading patterns, making adjustments, and executing a flawless game plan to break them down. His exceptional ring IQ, combined with his signature hit and not get hit style, carried him to the Hall of Fame as an undefeated 5-division world champion. Crawford, a 2-time undisputed champion at junior welterweight and welterweight, has shown a similarly sharp ring IQ throughout his career. While Mayweather had lightning-fast hand speed, especially as a counterpuncher, Crawford's ability to create angles and fire off punches with whip-like speed gives him an edge in offensive explosiveness. When it comes to knockout power, Mayweather finished 27 of his 50 wins inside the distance, while Crawford has 31 knockouts in his 40 victories, and he's still going. That speaks volumes about Crawford's ability to close the show, compared to Mayweather's methodical dominance.
That's unbelievable. To young boxing fans that are watching Floyd Mayweather, you're seeing one of the greatest defensive fighter of all time. I mean, that's how strong.
You're where and then he's nowhere. You think you...
And again, it's not just...
Now, let's go back to Crawford's masterclass against Errol Spence, dropping him 3 times before securing a dominant 9th-round TKO. Spence was no easy task. A relentless power puncher known for breaking down top-tier opponents like Kell Brook, Sean Porter, and Yordenis Ugas, Spence became the unified world welterweight champion through sheer grit and skill. Yet Crawford made it look effortless, with his power playing a key role. Mayweather, on the other hand, built his legacy on defensive brilliance. When backed into a corner, he'd raise his shoulder into that iconic Philly shell stance, absorbing punches while using his free hand to deliver razor-sharp counters. It was defensive boxing at its highest level, a perfect balance of avoiding damage while landing clean, effective shots.
The head, the way he rolled with punches. Look at the way he makes it miss. I mean, here we go. Do a series of punches and nothing really landed. The ripping fighter. Well, Mayweather. Oh, hey!
Crawford has solid defensive skills too, but Mayweather took it to another level. This raises the big question: how would a prime Mayweather versus Crawford showdown actually play out? and who would come out on top. After a tense, opening round where both men size each other up, Crawford would likely start as the aggressor, throwing sharp combinations, landing some shots even as Mayweather's shoulder roll absorbs most of the impact. But as the fight moves into the middle rounds, Mayweather's ability to adapt would start to take over. He'd time Crawford's attacks perfectly, pick him apart with crisp jabs, and rack up points through flawless counterpunching. Crawford's relentless pressure would keep things competitive, but Mayweather's ring IQ and defensive mastery could give him the edge. That said, Crawford's power and constant pressure could put Mayweather in real trouble, even hurting him at times. The judges might favor Crawford's aggression and higher punch output, potentially giving him the edge on the scorecards over Mayweather's technical precision. Moving up in weight is never easy. Crawford is determined not to repeat the mistakes Canelo Alvarez made against Dimitri Bivol. Canelo's ambition backfired. He landed just 80 punches in 12 rounds, a career low. Bivol's airtight defense and sharp counterpunching secured him a clear, unanimous decision win, 115-113 across the board. Canelo admitted, "Today I lost, and he won. He's a great boxer." To avoid the same fate, Crawford has turned Ryan Garcia recently sat down with Patrick Bet-David on a podcast and opened up about his friendship with Floyd Mayweather. When asked which GOAT, greatest of all time, he trusts to give him raw, unfiltered criticism, he didn't hesitate. Mayweather was his answer. That alone speaks volumes about the respect Garcia has for the boxing legend. He also shared his thoughts on a possible showdown between Canelo Alvarez and Terence Crawford, calling it one of the most exciting matchups in boxing right now. Dimitri Bivol weighed in on the importance of respecting weight classes, saying, "When I first started boxing, one of the biggest lessons was to respect weight divisions." That being said, he didn't hold back in praising Crawford's skills, believing that Crawford's elite boxing IQ could give him an edge against Canelo. When asked if Crawford could actually beat Canelo, Bivol responded, "I can see it happening. Crawford is one of the best boxers in the world right now." His comments make one thing clear. While Crawford would be up against a naturally bigger opponent, his talent alone makes...
Someone told me to study Canelo, study Crawford. Crawford about to beat the shit out of Canelo Alvarez. I'm letting y'all know right now, he about to beat the brakes off of Canelo Alvarez.
After becoming the undisputed super middleweight champion in 2021, Canelo fell short against WBA light heavyweight champ Dimitri Bivol. But since then, the 34-year-old has bounced back strong, racking up 5 straight wins over top fighters like Gennady Golovkin, Jermall Charlo, and Edgar Berlanga. Legendary boxing trainer turned analyst Teddy Atlas recently spoke with Fight Hub TV about a potential mega fight between Canelo and Crawford. He made it clear he won't bet against the American southpaw, saying, "Very few fighters challenge themselves the way Crawford does. I'll never count that guy out. Father Time might get him, but I don't think weight classes will. It's a huge challenge. Canelo is bigger, stronger, and a deadly puncher. But Crawford, he'll come up with a game plan that forces Canelo to use that size." In another interview with Fight Hub TV, Brian McIntyre had high praise for the undefeated Crawford, who could be facing Canelo as soon as May or September. He believes Crawford has all the tools to become undisputed in yet another division. Any real boxing fan knows Crawford can beat Canelo. You need to understand fighting to see that, McIntyre said. If this fight happens, it could land on May 3rd or May 10th, right around Cinco de Mayo, a prime time for boxing. But Canelo might be waiting to see the outcome of the February 22nd light heavyweight showdown between Artur Beterbiev and Dimitri Bivol. Beterbiev won their first fight last year, and the rematch could shift the landscape. That's it for now. Stay locked in for the best boxing updates. Subscribe to our YouTube channel, turn on notifications, and never miss out on content like this. Until next time, peace.